cost accounting. So just I recall the thing what we have discussed in last class. Cost accounting is the art or process of recording, analyzing, and classifying the expenditure for the purpose of costing or service costing. Purpose of product cost or service cost, ascertainment of profitability or operational planning and cost control. So the thing is, the different type of accountings are there. Okay, cost accounting, financial accounting, management accounting, in other accounting. So the purpose of each and every accounting is different. Do you understand? The different purpose. For example, financial accounting providing the information to the users. So the user's point of view, they have to prepare the financial accounting statements. Okay. So in otherwise, the management accounting and cost accounting prepared according to their decision-making purpose. Most probably decision-making process. So that is the thing, the difference between the accounting, cost accounting, management accounting, financial accounting. Okay. So in here, the financial information supplied by financial accounting in the form of financial statement, state about related to the past activity. So according to their past activity, they have to prepare the financial statement according to the financial statements, financial information supplied by the financial department. Okay, but the cost accounting and management accounting are different. Do you understand? Different. So according to that one, you have to identify why the cost and management and financial accounting are different. What is the definition? So you can understand that one. So what is the need? So these are the things we have to discuss in last class. Ascertainment of cost. These are the primary objective of cost. Cost control and cost deduction. So it is aim is to the cost accounting aim is to improve the profitability. Improve the profitability by controlling and reducing the cost. Okay. So the ultimate task is the cost accounting is to they have to control. They have to control the cost. Okay. So for this purpose, they have to use some techniques. So we have to discuss these techniques in lectures later. So guide to business policy, determination of the selling price. Without calculating the cost, you cannot identify the selling price. So someone raised the hand. Any problem? Can you listen or can you hear my voice clearly? Do you have any problem in my voice, in my sound, in my audio?
No, sir.
Yes, okay. So some of the students are in the name. So please change your name as your registration number. It is helpful for your attendance. So please, only you have to type your name, EUIS 2020, comma management, your number. Don't put any other names or any other index number. Just you have to put your registration number only. Registration number only. Please consider this one. This is for your attendance purpose and any other evaluation purpose. Okay. So the determination of the selling price. So without knowing the cost, without knowing any cost information, you cannot be identified the selling price. So you have to determine the selling price according to the basis of the cost data. So then these are the things already we have discussed. Similarity between cost accounting and financial accounting, difference between cost accounting and financial accounting, the meaning of cost. So please carefully you can understand the terms. Okay. So it is this is your first cost and management accounting subject now in your first year. So if you are understanding these things here, so it will be helpful for you up to final year, because sometimes someone did not clarify the notes. Only they have to focus on the calculation. So that is not useful. So each and everyone you have to consider about your theoretical part also. So if you are well understanding the theoretical part, that will be helpful for your each and every examination. Okay. So the cost term defined by each and every Oxford Dictionary, CIMA London, some of the scholars, they have to define the what do you mean by cost. What is the meaning of the cost? So I will upload this handout today after completing the lectures. The cost centers. So you know about what is cost. You can understand what is the cost center. So for the purpose of ascertaining the cost. For the purpose of ascertaining the cost. For example, so for example, simply I talk about the bakery product. You are on a bakery. You are producing breads, bun, cake, like other butter. So like other thing is, so when you are considering the production, you have to ascertain the cost. How much of cost allocated for the bread production? How much of cost allocated for the bun production? Sorry, how much of cost allocated for the cake production? So for that purpose also, you have to identify each item of cost. So the purpose of ascertainment cost, the whole organization divided into small parts. So that section, that small section is treated as a called cost center in which cost is ascertained. So it may be a location, a department, a sales area. So there is an administration department, there is a production department, there is a sales department. So each and every departments are there. The item of equipment, a machine, machinery department. Supplying department, they have delivery vehicle. In a person, salesman is there, the machine operator is there. Audit person is there. They have to check the quality of the product. A group of these two automatic machines operated by one workman. The main purpose of ascertaining the cost of a cost center is control of cost. Without controlling the cost, you cannot achieve the profitability. So the cost center, the ultimate purpose of the cost center is to ascertaining the cost. So already we have discussed the cost centers are primarily divided into personal cost center and impersonal cost center. From the functional point of view, production and service cost center. The cost unit. Cost center. Now we have to identify the cost unit. So the cost, the total, when you are producing the bread, that is totally called as a cost. What is the cost of the producing 200 loaf of bread? What is the total cost? But these are the costs are breaking up into smaller activities. That can be helped to ascertaining the cost for the saleable product or service. So you have to divide the cost into unit by unit. A cost unit is defined by a unit of production or service into relation to which costs are ascertained. So already I give the example. When you are considering the production of sugar, the ton means 1000 kilogram a ton. A ton is equal to 1000 kilogram. So the cost unit is a ton. So in short, cost unit is the unit of measurement of cost. How to measure the cost? The unit of measurement. So for example, in the sugar mill production, how many? Sometimes they have 5 tons of sugar. So sometimes they have to produce 1000 liters of chemical. In the brick production, they have to produce 2500 bricks. So in the soft drink, they have to produce 150 cases. Cases mean 24 bottle is one case, like that. So ultimately, the cost unit differ from the production as well as service. Okay. So when you are considering the unit of production, so already I have discussed the cement production, chemical, brick, sometimes cables, electric cables, the paper, a ream of paper, how many ream they have to produce. Ultimately, the service, unit cost of service also there. If you are watching the cinema in the theater, you have to pay for a seat. If you get one ticket, only one person can see the cinema. So if you want in your family, there are 5 members. If you want to watch the cinema, you can get the 5 tickets. The cost of 5 tickets, you can pay per ticket 1,000. Sometimes some the workshops are arranged by the university. So the resource person hired. So in that time, we have to, if a resource person taking 2 hours for the webinar, so we have to pay for the consultancy for per hour. If a person taken 2 hours, we have to pay 1 hour 1,000, 2 hours 2,000. That is the unit of service. Passenger miles. So the ticket, when you are traveling from Batticaloa to Colombo, so you have to pay the ticket fee. So they have to calculate the ticket fee according to the passenger mile. So like that, there are various cost units in the various industries. Okay, so you can understand that one. For example, in the private hospital. So if you are admitted in the private hospital, you can check the bill. What are the things they have to include in your bill? Bed per day. If you are staying in 1 day in the hospital for any disease, you can charge by per bed. All the costs are included in that cost per bed, including medical costs, dressing cost, consultancy fee, like that, all are included in that bed per day. Okay. So this is the cost unit. So already you know about what do you mean by cost, what do you mean by cost center, then what do you mean by cost unit. Okay. So the elements of cost, we have to enter into the main analysis and classification of cost. The cost elements of cost. For example, simply I am saying every example, the bakery product. So in the bakery product, there are several costs are involved in that production. So you can use flour, you can use butter, you can use egg, you can use salt, you can use sugar, you can the production produced by some laborers, the bread maker, bun maker, cake maker. In your bakery, there are some supervisors. So that is included in the labor cost. So that is included in the wages. Other than that, some expenses, transport cost for that product. Transport, other expenses, overhead expenses, and other expenses we will discuss later. So the analysis and classification of cost is basically made with a reference to factors on which expenditure is incurred. These factors are known as the element of cost. Okay. So the various element of cost are material cost, labor cost, or wages, expenses. So these are the main 3 elements of cost. So material cost. So the cost of commodity to understand. So when you are calculating the cost, when you are calculating the cost of the commodity, you can identify some material costs. Some material costs are used. Not only for the Cost of the material you have to purchase. When you are purchasing the material, there are some costs are incurred. Cost of procurement, freight inward, taxes, insurance. So these costs, the cost of production, freight inward, taxes, insurance are directly attributable to the acquisition. When you are purchasing the material, these costs are included. So the material costs are divided into two categories. One is the direct material cost and other one is the indirect material cost. Okay. So what do you mean the production? Production means the materials are converted into the output. Input are converted into the output. Okay. So the direct material cost is that which can be conveniently identified with and allocated to the cost unit. So you know about what is cost unit. What is cost unit? So the cost, the direct material cost are conveniently identified. So easily we can identify direct material cost. For example, for the bread production, flour is the direct material. In the furniture production, steel is they are producing steel furniture. So the steel is the direct material. So they have to produce the clothes for the babies. So the length is the direct material. Wool is the direct material. So there are some examples are there: clay in brick, leather in shoes, steel in machine, cloth in garment, timber in furniture. So direct material generally become a part of the finished product. If you understand, it is the one of the cost, one of the part of the finished product. So when you are identifying the product, for example, a furniture, you buy a chair in the for the study purpose, you buy a chair and table. So you can, when you are thinking about that furniture, chair and table, there are some direct material involved in the production. There are some direct labor involved in that production. There are some other expenses involved in the direct in the production. Sometimes some materials are involved in that production, but did not. When you are considering about the cost, when you are considering the cost, that materials are there are 0.005%, 0.0005%. Sometimes at least 0.01%. So what do you mean by indirect material? These are those material which cannot be conveniently identified with an individual cost unit. So we can conveniently identify. So, but these are involved in the production. But it is convenient, it cannot be conveniently identified. This word is important. Cannot be conveniently identified. When we ask the question in the examination, can you differ the direct material cost and indirect material cost? You can write the word cannot be conveniently. Without this word, you cannot be achieve the marks. Okay. So these are the minor in importance, such as. So these are the importance, small importance. So you can studies in the financial accounting materiality according to the importance. Like that here, small and relatively inexpensive item, but nowadays it is a expensive item. If you buy a nails or if you buy a nut and bolt, nowadays it is very high prices than the previous years. Okay, pins, nut and bolt, thread. These items which don't physically become a part of the finished product. Coal, oil and grease, sandpaper used for polishing, soap. These are using for the production at least 0.1%, at least 0.05%. So it is not physically become as a part of the finished product, but it is used for the production. So when you are producing the one of the products from the machinery need just 2 or 3 drops of oil, just 0.5 gram of grease that machinery need. So these are the items are there indirect material. So you can identify what is direct material, what is indirect material. Next one is the labor cost. The cost remuneration, wages, salaries, commission, bonus, etc. of the employees of an undertaking. It includes PF, Provident Fund contribution, gratuity, overtime, intensive bonus, wages for the holiday, etc. So, the remuneration of the employer. The remuneration is the common word. Remuneration is the common word. It has included many things. So, you have hired the workers for per day. You are cleaning your surrounding environment in your home. You can hire the particular person. You can clean this area. You can take on your own time. Within today, you have to clean that area. I will pay something per day. So, in the particular organization, hire the particular workers, they have to pay the remuneration. So, that remuneration is different. Okay. So, they have to pay the wages, sometimes day wages or monthly wages. So, they have to pay the overtime. Sometimes the particular employee working over the standard hours. Over the standard hours. They have to pay some holiday pay. They have to pay some contribution, EPF, ETF contribution. That is concluded into the employer's commitment and also employee commitment. So, that remuneration is the vast area. You can identify how to calculate the remuneration in the employees. So, we will discuss later in this one. So, the direct labor cost. The labor cost divided into two parts, like that, direct labor cost, indirect labor cost, like that material. So, the direct labor cost consists of wages paid to workers directly engaged in converting the raw material into finished good. So, our ultimate task is to, the production is to converting the raw material into finished good. So, in that time, those who workers are involved in that production, involved in that process, they get the wages. So, in that time, that is called as the direct wages. So, the direct wages for this directly involved in the production. Machine operator, shoemaker, carpenter, weaver and tailor, hair cutter. So, like that. Beautician. So, beautician work for the bridal in the particular time. So, he is work for this beautician. Tailor. Tailor preparing the shirt or trouser or wearing the trouser, shirt or frock. So, the machine operator. The particular product produced by machine. So, the machine operator is the direct labor. Indirect labor cost. So, like that indirect material, this is also general character and cannot be conveniently identified with a particular cost unit. In other words, indirect labor is not directly engaged in the production operation, but only to assist or help in the production operation. They have to help, they have to involve, but indirectly, not directly engaged in the production. Example, supervisor. So, in the particular car company, in the wide range we can think, in the particular car company, they have to assemble the car in different area. The one person assemble the door. One group of people, one group of laborers are assembled the door. Other parts are assembled by other group of laborers. Other engine and other things, mechanical sets are concluded by other laborers. So, like that, the separate portions are there. So, the overall supervision is there. So, what about the supervisor task? Supervisor look at the work. Those who are working correctly or the production is process are going smoothly, or so other productions are without any interruption. So the supervisor supervises the employees or laborers. But he is not involved in the production process, but he is supervised the production direct labors. So the supervisor is called as a indirect labor, inspector, like that, cleaner. When you are producing in the particular production department, so that production department has some wastages. So in that time, the cleaner come and clean the day. So he is work for that particular factory, but he is not directly involved in that production, but he is do other works, particularly important for the production. Clerk, the administration, clerk, watchman, like that. So these are the indirect labors example. Did you understand? So direct labor, indirect labor, direct material cost, indirect material cost. So these are the important things you can identify that part. So other vast area is expenses. It is the vast area. According to these expenses, you have to study most of the thing. You have to identify that expenses. It is directly involved or not. So that is called as sometimes you have to identify the administration cost, selling and distribution cost, overhead cost, finance cost, process costing. So in that time, when you are studying the process costing, batch costing, so it is very interesting. So you can identify easily. When you understand this one properly, you can identify the expenses. All the costs other than material and labor are terms as expenses. When you are considering the cost, there are different costs are there. Already we have studied the direct material cost and labor cost. You know about what are the material costs, what are the labor costs. So other than these costs are called as expenses. What is the definition of the expenses? The cost of service provided to an understanding and notional cost of use for own asset. Did you understand? The cost of service provided to an undertaker and notional cost for the use of the own assets. This is the CIMA expense, CIMA definition for that expenses. So different types of expenses are there. So you can understand that. So the likely the direct and indirect expenses, likely material and labor, the expenses also categorized, divided into two: direct expenses and indirect expenses. Okay. So the direct expenses are those expenses which can be identified with and allocated to the cost centers or units. Now you can understand the cost. The expenses directly allocated to the particular cost centers and unit. Now you can know about what is units, what is cost unit, what is cost center. So directly allocated to this particular cost centers or particular cost unit. So already it is chargeable expenses called as royalty paid on the basis output. Royalty. Higher charges for the special plant. Import duty paid for the purchase of direct material. Depreciation or hire of plant. These are the direct expenses. Okay. Royalty means you will study in the royalty accounting, in advanced financial accounting you will study. The royalty. Royalty means one of the how to say that? One of the payment you should pay for the copyrights or something. We will discuss later this one, royalty. Higher charges for the special plant. Sometimes you have to purchase some plant for the production because you get a bulk amount of order. So in that time, your machinery does not enough to produce the product. So in that time, you have to hire the special plant from outside. So in that time, you have to pay something for that special plant. So that is as comes under the expenses because you have to hire that plant from outside. Sometimes you can ask why it is not included in the direct expense, direct material or direct labor. So the plant involved in the production, but not a material, not a labor. That are other expenses. So the charges for the plant not included in the material, not included in the labor. That is comes under the expenses, especially under the direct expenses. Sorry. Okay, that is the direct expenses. What do you mean by indirect expenses? Indirect cost, other than the indirect material and indirect labors, are terms as indirect expenses. The same thing, but indirect. So you can identify the indirect material. So there are some, when you are considering the production, you can identify the direct material, direct labor, direct expenses. Other than indirect side, you have identified the indirect material, indirect labor. So other costs are not included in the indirect material or indirect labor. That expenses are called as costs are called as indirect expenses. These cannot be directly identified with a particular job, process, or work order, and are common to cost unit and cost center. Sometimes it is common for the cost units of cost center. So directly identified, cannot be directly identified for the particular process. Rent and rates. So you are paying the rent for the particular building. So in the particular building, you have produced something. Sometimes you have to, your production departments are there, your sales departments are there. So some other laborers are staying night. Supervisors, sorry, the security guard staying night. So you have to give the one of the portion to that building to the supervisor. So the whole building occupy different category thing. So in that time you have to pay for the rent and rates for the whole building. So you cannot be identified. So you can be identified when it is considered as expenses. So how much expenses are allocated for the each and every portion. So you can study in the overhead costing data. So in that time, you have to allocate this cost to the production department, service department. Then you have to allocate the cost for the service department to production department. Then you have to calculate the total production department cost. Then you have to identify the total cost of the production. Then you have to identify the cost per unit. It is not a easy one. You can identify, you can calculate easily. When you are studying this one, you can calculate easily. You can calculate easily the overhead cost. Depreciation. Lighting and power. Electricity used for the whole building. Advertising, insurance, and repair. So these are the indirect expenses. Okay. So the indirect expenses. So direct expenses also there. So the indirect expenses, classification of indirect expenses. First one is the factory overhead or work overhead. So in the factory overhead include all the indirect cost incurred in the factory in connection with the manufacturing operation. Factory overhead means it is an indirect cost. It is connection with the manufacturing operation. Example, oil, cotton waste for cleaning the machinery. So when you are cleaning the machinery, you use some cotton material. So that is the waste. Coal, gas and fuel, wages of storekeeper, wages of timekeeper, salaries of foremen and factory supervisors, factory rent, factory rate and insurance, repair to the factory building, depreciation of factory plant and machinery, and depreciation for own factory building. So like that. So these are the factory overhead or work overhead. Okay. So you can read and understand. Office and administration expenses. These include all indirect costs related to the relating to the direction and control and administration of undertaking. So the office administration is there, no? So in other words, office and administration overhead refer to the general office expenses and expenses for the administration and control of the business. So you have to pay the salary for the laborers. So one of the person in charge for that calculating the salary part, depositing the salary in the bank, calculating the EPF, ETF. So some other person in charge for the material purchasing. They have to prepare the procurement. They have to send the orders for the material. So these are the office and administration overhead, office rent, office rate and insurance, depreciation for the on-factory building, office lighting, depreciation of the office furniture. Furniture are especially used in the office. So that is comes under the office and administration overhead. Office stationery. Some machineries are purchased for that purpose. 1 minute. Okay, so these are the office expenses. Okay, office and administration overhead. So like that, other one is selling and distribution expenses. You see, it is involving in so, so most of the students did not change their registration number. Please change the Saminathan Sadurjan, Sanduni Disanayaka, Satya Seelan, Lily Prakash, Sasika Viraj, Sundarlingam Lilakshan, Takshila Udayangani, Duvan Abbas, Saluja. So 2020 MS 97, please only put your registration number only. So this is a common format you can follow. So because it is easy for your calculation and any other. So please read me. Indujan. Is in online Indujan. Surya Raj.
Yes, sir.
Please change your name. Indujan. Surya Raj, also change your name. SAKM Surya Raj. Please change your name as your registration number, please. Okay, up to now we have to discuss the basic things up to element of cost, direct material, direct labor, indirect cost, like that. So then the component of cost. So this is the important part. The component of cost may be defined as the cumulative Wait a minute, there was a problem in the PowerPoint. Direct expenses called as a prime cost. Okay. Then factory cost. So what is the factory cost means? Prime cost plus overhead, factory overhead. So sometimes it may be called as a work cost, production cost, manufacturing cost. Different names are there. So please note it down and understand. If any question asked from these names, so you can identify this is the factory cost, this is the prime cost. So the prime cost is ultimately aggregation of the all direct cost. Prime cost is equal to direct material plus direct labor plus direct expenses. Factory cost is equal to prime cost plus factory overhead. You know about what do you mean by the factory overhead? So the office expenses or cross cost or cost of production. So the factory cost plus office and administration cost. This is the office cost. Total cost or selling cost or cost of sale. Total cost is to prime cost, factory cost plus office and administration overhead. These are the total cost. So the total cost is equal to production cost plus selling and distribution overhead. So you can understand this one. Then classification of cost. So the cost may be classified according to the different basis. So different characters such as element, nature, variability, controllability, normality, and function. According to this one, already we have to classify as the cost like this. Elements of cost. These are the one of the elements according to the element. So like that, different types of characteristics are there for the cost. So according to the different characteristics, different bases, we have to classify. So element of cost, already we have discussed. Material cost, labor cost, expenses. Material cost means cost for material supply. Labor cost means cost for remuneration of employee. The total remuneration included in that cost. Cost of service provided. Different service departments are there. Different service peoples are there. They have to provide the service. In that time, how much of cost incurred? That is called as the cost of service provided. That is called as the expenses. So under the elements of cost, you have to identify material cost, labor cost, and expense. So students, please mute your mic. Okay. Under the nature of cost. Under this, the costs are classified according to their identifiable with the cost centers and cost units. So in relate with the cost centers. So the cost identified in relation with the cost centers, in relation with the cost unit. Okay. So that is in the nature of cost, that is divided into direct cost and indirect cost. What do you mean by direct cost? Cost which can be directly traced or identified with the product or process department. It can be directly identified. Indirect cost means opposite of the direct cost. Cost which cannot be traceable of any particular product. So if you are consider one of the product, you can identify these are the direct material. You can trace them. You can identify these are the direct material, these are direct labor, these are the direct expenses. That is called as a direct cost. Apart from that, you cannot be traced. So this cost cannot be concluded in the direct. So these costs are different. These costs are directly not involved. So you cannot be traceable for any particular product. The process of department but are common to a number of product or department. Variability or cost behavior. The cost behavior is the way in which cost per unit of output are affected by the level of activity. Cost behavior means you have produced the product. So the output, when you are producing 100 units, you have 100,000, 150,000 cost. When you are producing 150 units, sometimes cost may be increase. Most probably cost may be increase, total cost. So the cost per unit of output are affected by the level of activity. Sometimes you may be increase the product, sometimes you may be decrease the product. So the cost behavior like that. The behavior. What about the behavior of the cost? That costs are affected. How? The level of activity. Sometimes you have to produce more unit. Sometimes the cost per unit will be reduced. Sometimes you have to produce, for example, most probably you have to produce 120,000 units. Normally you can produce. So in your factory, sometimes according to the order, according to some special order, you can produce 250 units. So in that time you have to calculate the cost. Sometimes the cost per unit may be low. When you are producing the below this standard, 98,000 units, sometimes cost per unit is high. So that level of activities are determining the cost behavior. So when the level of activities are affected, the cost so the level of activities affect the cost per unit of output. Cost per unit of output affected by the level of activity. Sometimes you have to increase the production. Sometimes you have to increase the decrease the production. Sometimes you have to deduct the labor force. Sometimes you have to increase the labor force. So the level of activities are refers to volume of production, amount of work done, the number of event occurred. So in the basis of principle of the cost behavior is that the level of activity raises, cost will usually rise or vice versa. Based on this cost behavior, the cost can be categorized as fixed cost, variable cost, semi-variable cost. So according to the behavior of the cost, you know, sometimes you have to produce 5,000 units per month, but some costs are increasing, some costs are decreasing according to the production, but some costs are constant. You know, for example, simple example, you are rented out the building for the production. You have to rent out that building, you have to install your machineries and all the things in that building. So you have to run the business now. You have to produce the product or services. So you have to identify. Some costs are increasing, some costs are decreasing according to your output. Some costs are constant. Simply the rent for the building. If you are producing or not, you have to pay the rent. Telephone charges. If you are producing the product or not, you have to pay the telephone charges. Okay, so that is the fixed cost. whatever the thing happened, if the production is going or not, the level of activities of increase or decrease, the cost cannot be changed. That is called as a fixed cost. Variable cost means when you are increase the unit of production per one unit, the cost will be increased. Sometimes cost may be reduced. That is called as a variable. The cost may be changed. Semi-variable cost. So sometimes it may be one part of the cost are variable, one part of the cost are fixed. Okay. So the fixed cost. These costs are the fixed in the total and do not vary with the volume of the production. But fixed cost per unit increase when the unit of production decrease and vice versa. Okay. Fixed cost per unit increase when the volume of production decrease. So when you are compare with the production, it is a indirect relationship. The fixed cost does not change. If you are producing 1,500 unit, if you sometimes you have to increase the product 2,000 unit, sometimes you have to increase the product by 200,000 unit. The fixed cost does not change. But when you are considering the fixed cost per unit, fixed cost does not change according to the variable volume of the production. But in case of the fixed cost per unit, if you are producing more unit, the fixed cost unit decrease. For example, your fixed cost 100,000. So I don't have the facility for the whiteboard. I am using my desktop. So from next class we have to use that facility. Yeah. Whiteboard I could not write in the screen. Okay. So sorry for that inconvenience. So from next class we will move that one. Okay. For example, the fixed cost 100,000. You have produced 1,000 units. What is the fixed cost per unit? So if you increase the 200,000 product, so 200,000 is the fixed cost. Sorry. 100,000 is the fixed cost. Fixed cost does not change. When you are increase the product or not, when you are increase the product, the fixed cost per unit reduced. So like that. So when you are seeing the example, we will see the cost are changed in the proportion of the volume of production, but the variable cost per unit remain fixed. The variable cost thing is, if you are increase the product, the cost will be increased. If you are decrease the product, cost will be decreased. But per unit cost does not change. Per unit cost, per unit variable cost does not change. Direct material. Wages, power, commission. So we will see the example later, numerical example. So the semi-fixed variable cost and semi-fixed cost mean these costs are partly fixed, partly variable. Telephone expenses. When you are considering telephone expenses, under the telephone expenses, there is when you are clarifying the telephone expenses, landline or other postpaid line, there are some one of the some portion of that. For example, it is a rental. If you are taking the land phone bill, the fixed rental is there. If you are using or not, you have to pay that fixed rental. For example, in last month, you have talked more than 20 hours. The cost is fixed rental plus your talking fee. This month, you have talked less than 10 hours. Fixed rental is there, but your talking hours, charges will be less. But partly fixed, partly variable. Controllability. Controllability means these costs are classified according to whether or not these are influenced by the action of a given number of organizations. These costs are classified according to whether or not these are influenced by the action of a given number of organizations. They are controllable costs, uncontrollable costs. Controllable cost means it's referred to those costs which can be influenced by the action of a specific member of an organization. For instance, person in charge of a particular department or cost center can control only these costs which can directly under his or her control. The controllable cost. Some costs are controlled, some costs are uncontrolled. So here, one of the example is given. The particular department or particular cost center, the particular person, particular specific member control the cost. So the particular manager for the material purpose. So in the production department, in the material controller is there. They have to use the material without waste. They have used the material without waste. In that time, cost will be reduced. So the particular person cannot consider the wasting material or other things. So most of the materials are wasted. In that time, cost will be increased. So sometimes the cost can be controlled. Sometimes beyond our hand. It cannot be uncontrolled. It cannot be controlled. Uncontrolled. Those costs which cannot be influenced by an action of a specific member of the organization. So a particular member cannot be controlled that part. Different between the controllable and uncontrollable cost of the relation, particular individual or level of management. Normality of function. Costs are classified according to whether these are costs which normally incurred at a given level of output in the condition in which that level of activity, in which that level of output normally occurs. So the thing is, costs are classified according to whether these costs are which normally incurred at the level of given at a given level of output in the condition in which that level of activity, in which that level of output normally occurs. Okay, so avoidable and unavoidable, normal cost, abnormal cost. Costs which are normally occurred at the level of output in the condition in which that level of output is normally attained. Such costs cannot be avoided at all. Normal cost cannot be avoidable. It will happen. You are doing anything, any precautionary activity, it cannot be controlled, it cannot be avoided. This normally happen. But costs which are not normally incurred at the level of output in condition in which that level of output is normally attained, such costs can be avoided in a proper care of taken. The waste of material, the particular person carefully use that material when you are uploaded in the machinery, it will be avoidable. So mishandling, mishandling the material when a person uploaded the material in the machinery without care, the wastes are there now. So it is avoidable. We have carefully uploaded in the material in the machinery, there is no wastage. That is avoidable. So some other costs are unavoidable. Sometimes the depreciation, some machine parts are you can be changed particular number of output. So it cannot be unavoidable. We must change. Otherwise, we have to lose the production. So we will, you will see some. I will upload some ebook. So you have to read and understand. So relevance to the decision making. Now we have to move the decision making process. So the managers are making the decision. The internal party making the decision. The marginal cost. What do you mean by marginal cost? At any given level of output, the amount by which aggregate cost changes with the changes of volume of output. So when you can see the volume of output, for example, 1000 units, 1200 units, 1500 units. So in that time, cost can be changed. That is called as a marginal cost. Aggregate cost change. Some cost mean it is a past cost and irrelevant to the decision making. So some cost mean it is happened past, last 5 years before, last 1 year before, last 20 years before, last 15 years before. But it is irrelevant to the decision making. We cannot be considered for the decision making. Purchasing of fixed asset. So purchasing of fixed asset, it is a past cost. Already we have to purchase before 10 years, before 5 years, but not it is not considered in the decision making. That is called as a sunk cost. Opportunity cost. The value of benefit sacrificed in favor of an alternative cost of action. Sometimes one of the value benefit sacrifice means. So simply we can say when you are entering the university, you have to you will go for 4 years now. In that time you have to make some sacrifice. Like that in the production or service department, there are some sacrifices. So alternative favor. So alternative favor of action. So that is called as an opportunity cost. Inputted cost. It is referred to those costs which are not included in the cost, but are considered for making management decisions. The inputted cost. Inputted means that cost not included in the production. That cost is not included in the calculation of the total cost, but it may be influence the management decision making. So that is called as an inputted cost. So you know about marginal cost, sunk cost, opportunity cost, and inputted cost. So you can easily identify these things. So these are the cost sheet. Example, these are the cost sheet for the period, for the output. How many output you have? It is identified. More example, 120,000 units. Period means 1st November 2022, 31st November 2022. What about the particular direct material, particular expenses? So you can see here the prime cost. What is prime cost? All the direct expense, all the direct cost. Direct material, direct labor, factory overhead, factory cost, office and administration overhead, cost of production. What do you mean by cost of production? Selling and distribution expenses. You can calculate the total cost. So first you have to copy this cost sheet. First you have to copy it. Then you have to move for the question. So give 2 minutes. You can copy this cost sheet. So one question, why is here at the cost of production? The cost of production means how much of cost included in the production. The total cost means cost plus other administration, selling and other distribution costs. So please do this exercise. So copy this one. Copy this one, and balance part will be moved. First copy this one.
Okay. So now you can understand how to classify the cost, and you have to now you can prepare the cost sheet according to the data. Okay, so I will upload this one now in the LMS, so you can read and understand the factors. And additionally, you can read additional books. There are several books in the internet. E-books are there, so you can read that one and understanding more and more. And also this is the first chapter we have completed today. So we have to test this chapter within this week. Sometime it may be MCQ, or sometime it may be a oral, or sometime it may be a presentation. Okay. So I will upload this one.